You know, parents try to do everything they can to protect their kids. But here we live in a world where you have, 9/11 and you have ISIS, the attacks in Paris, and now it seems to be a part of everyday life. So how do you explain that to your kids and make it something they can live with?
And that's got to be tough. Joining us on the Kogo News Live line is licensed professional counselor Rusty Lozano. And Rusty, how do you explain something as big as terrorism to your children?
It's a really good question. It's really difficult when you think about the circumstances of the world and even having to breach this topic with your kids. But I think it's something as simple as having a conversation with them. Sitting down and asking them what they know about the world. What have you heard these days about what's going on in the world? And you'd be surprised how much information they know. Information on the news gets to us so lightning fast these days. On the phone, you get Amber Alerts. There's little headlines that kind of drop in on your phone if you subscribe to CNN or if you're on a social media site. Something will pop up, and so it's really important that when these things happen, you're checking in with your kids so they have a healthy perspective, and they're not awfulizing and living in terror. That's something that could happen here, and that's something that's going to happen to them. So,
but there are some really disturbing videos today. We were just watching the news this morning, watching a woman run away from one of the Paris attackers, and you see, glass shattering in this cafe and stuff flying through the air. How do you keep them from seeing it?
Yeah, and that's a really tough thing to do because it's you never know when something like that's going to pop up. But I think as best you can, keep them away from the carnage and keep them away from imagery like that. But when it does happen, I think that getting back to explaining, that there's some people that do bad things in the world, and there's some people that want to hurt others. But then also balancing that perspective with there are just as many good people, and there are a lot more beautiful things, and a lot more good people in the world that do good things, and to kind of balance that out some, so they're not just focusing on the negative. Because if you're actually, you're looking for these things or you're hearing about them, it won't be hard to log in and find one story after the next and after the next, and then the same thing as far as imagery and visuals to see a multiple exposure to these things because they're readily accessible online.
Kids like to reenact things. They like to build buildings, and then they like to bomb them, especially if they've seen something like that on TV. What do you say to your kid if you walk in and they're trying to reenact some kind of tragedy just playing?
Well, I think that if down on their level, and if you do see them doing something like that, help them rebuild. Help them actually have a healthy perspective and say, well, let's actually play. It's time to rebuild and fix everything. And where are the helpers? And how are the helpers going to help construct and fix everything and make everything better? So that they can actually see both sides and they're not just completely just playing this out. I think if you do see something like that and your child is reenacting things, it might be a good time to kind of visit somebody that can actually help. If you are concerned about what your child has been exposed to, there are ways that you can communicate these things because younger children actually play these things out with toys and they replay them because they're images in the mind. And so you would have to get back on a level of understanding the world to that degree. So get down and play with them. And if you are not necessarily sure how to do that, seek help with somebody that can actually help you do that and communicate a healthy way of balancing the negative with the good.
All right, that is licensed professional counselor Rusty Lozano with us here on the Kogo News Live line about how you help your kids deal with the chaos of terrorism and things that go bump in the night. Let's face it. Thank you so much, Rusty.
Thank you, guys.